Hey.
Hi.
Welcome to the greatest moment of Sean's life. Sean's going nuts. I'm Bill Simmons. That's Sean Fennessey. That's Chris Ryan. We all work for The Ringer for Spotify. We host a podcast that we're all on called The Rewatchables. Sean hosts The Big Picture as well. We love movies. I don't even know how this started, but I love the Coolidge Corner Theater. I used to live here for a year. I saw a bunch of movies here, including Hoop Dreams, I remember seeing here, which was awesome. But this was one of those movies that was like, oh man, I love this place. There's no way it's gonna last. And now 2025, still here, looking great. And I think they've done just an incredible job, protecting this universe. But Sean, you're probably the most passionate about this. There's a bunch of places that have opened up in LA, but for the most part, these places are anomalies, right?
Yeah, the movie theater is my favorite place in the world. Chris and I were just across the street at the record store, and a couple of the patrons were like, we are really fucking lucky to have this place. And you guys are. This is so cool. This is both rep theater and first run movie theater is very rare in cities in America nowadays. So cherish it. Come as often as you can. I think it's really special.
I worked or lived like 3 blocks from here, so this was a big place for me, and it's mind-blowing to be back here 25 years later and also showing some of the best movies ever made, honestly.
Yeah, so we're showing, I think, 8 or 9 movies total. We decided to do a little film festival, Boston movies and heist movies. And we
couldn't choose one.
We consider Goodfellas, we kind of nudged it in the heist category. I don't know if it's necessarily
a
heist.
heist.
Yeah, there's a couple
great
heists. You got Liotta standing against a shower.
I bet the guys in this movie hate Boston, so we can call it a Boston movie. Yeah.
But so for the rewatchables, we're always careful about like the best possible rewatchable movies. And we've had that podcast since 2017, but when to do a movie like this, and like when did we do Pulp Fiction in August?
Last summer, yeah.
And it was just like doling some of the best ones out. This is like a top.
This was the
6
first
or
one
7
we did in person after COVID.
Right. And then we just gave each other COVID as we were doing it, I think. This is an OG. It's a movie that I did no prep for this at all, but it's still enraging that Scorsese didn't win.
It's directed by Martin Scorsese.
Yeah. His best movie?
Why
is
did
it
you
his
say
best
that?
movie? How many people, has anybody not seen Goodfellas here? Raise your hand if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, how many people haven't seen this?
We got some Goodfellas virgins out here.
Oh,
my God.
Goodfellas virgin right there.
You popped your cherry! Oh!
Hey!
I mean, that's really special to be able to see it for the first time on the big screen. I didn't. I was 8 years old when this movie came out. So
is that true?
It is true, yeah.
Yeah, I saw this in the theater. I'm old.
Big time in me.
Yeah. But it's weird. Sometimes movies can be dated, the great ones. They can be dated, but still really fun to watch. And then other movies can just feel like they're trapped in ice. And I think Goodfellas is one of those, right? I don't see how this movie even ever gets old.
I think it's the energy of it. Some movies can feel a little bit plotting or, a little bit contemplative. And this movie, from the title sequence, and we talked about this on the pod when we did it, is just like right in the jugular. And it doesn't stop for 2.5 hours. And then you're like, I could go for another 2.5 more hours, but we can't because Heat's next. So we have to do that.
Right. It's another thing that happened with this movie, without giving away too much for the Goodfellas virgins in the audience. It became more of a comedy on the more rewatches. It's it's not some real shit happens in this movie. Some people are gonna die. I'm just gonna warn you now. Don't get attached to a bunch of the characters the first half hour. But I think as the years pass, this movie is so effing funny. And there's so many scenes, and I think the comedy, it's almost like The Sopranos is the same way, where it was funny in the moment, but then each year it gets a little funnier, right?
Yeah, there's something I've noticed at repertory screenings in Los Angeles of older movies is sometimes there's some over-laughing at the old movie that people really like because they know it so well.
A lot of laughing at at Thief, which I didn't really.
Yeah,
Right.
not the funniest movie of
Yeah.
all time, but this movie is actually very purposefully very comical.
Yeah.
So feel free to let it rip tonight.
Without stepping on too much, a couple things. Just look for the smoking from De Niro in this movie. It's maybe the best ever.
Yeah. No, we still teach it in classes, you know.
There's that one. You'll see he's gonna decide to kill one of the characters, and they slow-mo on him just having the cig and staring the guy down.
Maybe the
and
greatest zoom shot in the history of movies.
It's unbelievable. But I don't know if you can even say what a favorite De Niro performance is because there was too many of them. But it's
Yeah.
one of the first ones you're gonna mention, right?
Mad Dog and Glory, The Fan, Meet the Fockers.
Zero Day on Netflix. He was pretty good.
And
Yeah.
Zero Day, I've been enjoying that. Yeah.
This was such a cool De Niro run because he had, he was like one of the, here he comes, De Niro and Pacino, and this is the next generation. And then the 80s got a little rocky for a second. And then he just laid it on for this long stretch here with Goodfellas and Cape Fear, Midnight Run, and all of a sudden he just kind of reclaimed the throne.
Well, it's a long period of time had passed between when he had last worked with Scorsese.
Yeah.
Because they made these huge, important movies in the 70s and 80s, Taxi Driver, New York, New York, Raging Bull, some of the most acclaimed movies of that time. And then basically a decade goes by, right, before they reunite.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because he's not really the star of this movie.
No.
He is a true supporting character. And so he's actually quite good at doing this kind of thing, even though he was usually at the center of movies for the 15 years before this.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like with the rewatchables that Bill's talking about that we save and that we treasure the experience of doing them, the thing that's I think unites all of them is that on the 10th, 15th watch, you start getting into different aspects of it. And I think there was a long run with Goodfellas where I was like, I'm just ISO on De Niro here. Like every single thing, every gesture he does, even though he has his own particular style of acting, like it feels so thought out. It feels so perfect for the character. And the Jimmy Conway character is like this sort of specter of evil that hovers over this movie that is kind of fun-loving at certain points, but Jimmy is always there.
Yeah, one of the categories, the first category we have in the Rewatchables podcast is most rewatchable scene. And the thinking behind it, now, I mean, this new generation, everybody streams stuff, so that not as many people flicking channels. But the idea was if you're flicking channels on cable or on DirecTV or whatever, and you stumble across and it's like, it's the restaurant scene. That guy's gonna tell Tommy to get his shine box. Oh boy. And you know it's coming. You're like, all right, I got to stay for this. So the premise is like you're about to go out with your girlfriend or your spouse, and you have to leave. But it's like, hold on 1 second. I just gotta watch 15 minutes of this. Goodfellas has like 7 of those where you're just like, oh my god, now they're gonna go to Tommy's mom's. I got to stay for this, and it just keeps going. And then the end, the last stretch is one of the most manic 10-minute stretches probably ever captured on film.
Yeah, if you turn it on during the last 30 to 40 minutes, you're like, actually, let's not go out.
Yeah.
I just feel bad.
Let's just ride this thing. A couple other things to look for. Ray Liotta, who had the arrow pointing up in the 80s. He was in Something Wild. Like people thought this is somebody, but then this movie became the first sentence in his obituary. This was it. This was the thing he became known for.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, it kind of overwhelmed his career because it was so iconic and introduced him to so many people, and he did have a great and long career. But Henry Hill is like, it's weird to feel so emotionally connected to such a demon, but because he really is really a complicated guy. But I don't know, there's something weirdly empathetic about his kind of sniveling face throughout this movie.
Yeah, and he goes from being this beautiful kid all the way to being such a mess towards the end that it's like this incredible arc for a character, and the performance matches at every step of the way.
I don't think there's ever been a better laugher in a movie. You'll see in some of the scenes with Tommy. He really seems like he's genuinely about to keel over from laughing so hard. I don't know how he does it, but amazing performance in this. And then had a pretty funny last stretch of his career where he almost became like an NBA ex-player podcaster, just like throwing darts at everybody.
You would just go on, watch What Happens Lives. And
there's some really funny YouTube interviews with him. And then Lorraine Bracco, too.
Yeah.
Who, she'd been in some stuff. Like she was in Someone to Watch Over Me with Tom Berenger. And you knew who she was. This became her most famous movie. And then she and Michael Imperioli parlayed the impossible Goodfellas Sopranos combo, where they were in both universes somehow as two different characters, even though it's the same actor. But when you saw her in The Sopranos, she was basically Lorraine Bracco from this movie. You saw Michael Imperioli in The Sopranos, you're like, oh my God.
Spider's back.
Spider's all grown up.
He made it? So yeah, there's this little mafia universe that I think Goodfellas and The Sopranos are at the forefront of. Can we talk about Scorsese for a quick sec?
Of course.
Why is this the first movie that gets mentioned with him, I think, going forward? Or is it Raging Bull? What is the first movie that gets mentioned for him?
It's probably different for some people. For Chris, it's Silence. And then Kundun is second. I think it's because it feels like a culmination of a lot of themes that he was always very interested in, and he found the perfect vehicle to tell the story of America, because this is a long spanning story. It starts out in the early 50s and it runs all the way into basically the early 80s. And so it gives him an opportunity to kind of use the story of American crime and the mafia as a portal to humanity, our life as fathers, friends, parents, children.
Capitalists. Yep.
Capitalists for sure.
Cocaine.
Cocaine, yeah. And it's also I think it's a really great canvas for him to really explore his interest in music, his interest in color, his interest in pushing you to the absolute edge of showing violence and showing, this kind of intense hatred in this world, while also somehow making you feel emotionally connected to these people.
He empties the playbook here. Every trick he knows, every filmmaking mechanism that he has at his disposal is on display here. And it's also assembled at such a rapid pace that you're just you could spend your whole life watching this movie and pick up new shots, new little things he does.
It also has the trick that some of these, The Godfather has this too, where you start out with the full basketball team of people you like, and then they start disappearing.
Guys start picking up ACLs.
Yeah, by the end of the movie, you could barely put 5 guys on the court. I'm half Italian, which I've mentioned more than a couple times in the pod.
Should we give a moment for your applause here?
No applause. No applause for me being half Italian. Oh, thank you.
Is that half the good half?
It's the best half. My mom's whole side is Italian, and one of my favorite things about this movie is just how Italian is, specifically the eating and the preparing of food. And there's multiple scenes in this movie where you just get hungry.
Yeah.
Especially spoiler alert, at some point we're in prison with these guys, and he's like, here's how you make sauce. And he's got the razor blade cutting onions.
Do you think you would more be into Paulie's sauce or Clemenza's sauce from The Godfather?
Clemenza, obviously.
Yeah.
But Paulie had some obstacles. He's in the joint. He has less things to work. The most Italian scene in this movie, though, is they're going to end up at some point in Tommy's mom's house, which you'll see. I don't want to spoil it, and she's immediately making them food, and it's 3:45 in the morning. But that's just how it was. Did we mention everything? I think we did. Oh, and the music, I guess, is the other thing. Scorsese, no stranger to putting a Rolling Stones song or two in his movies. This is probably the most fun soundtrack, I think, of all his movies. Or would you go Departed?
I would go with this one just because the use of music in Departed is so chaotic.
Yeah.
And it's kind of almost disorienting, whereas this, you're just just give me the second half of Layla. Come on. Let's have it.
Let's do it. Before we go and before we show the movie, can you do your imitation of Henry finding out that his
Karen! That was all the money we had!
Why?
That's gonna be all of us if the stock market keeps doing this, but yeah.
This movie's awesome. We're so happy to be here, and I hope you are going to more than one this weekend, but we have some good ones. We have Heat later tonight. Hopefully some of you have tickets for that one. CR and I have never seen Heat together in the theater, much less with Sean.
I've never seen it on the big screen.
Yeah. So, the TVs are getting better.
Wait,
They're getting clearer.
Stop. What are you doing?
No. I'm going to land the plane on this. Hold on. TVs are getting better. 4K Blu-ray, which we bought a few in our day.
We have, yeah.
You could be in your house and the movie can feel awesome, but there's nothing like this. This is the best. I'm so happy.
Thank you so much for coming. This is really meaningful.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Enjoy the movie.